This chunk of apple wood came from the yard of Sandy Martin, a subscriber. He lives nearby and offered me some wood. I think I told you about that maybe a couple months ago. Maybe a little bit longer. But regardless, my wife and I went over to Sandy's house, and what a pleasure it was to meet Sandy. Just a salt of the earth, God-fearing person that's really, frankly, fun to be around. Aside from the other wood that Sandy had offered me, there was an apple tree standing in the yard that was in decline. Still alive, but having some problems. So Sandy wanted that taken down. So we did that together. And I brought home quite a few chunks of beautiful apple wood. And that's what we're dealing with here today. So thank you, Sandy. I've got the majority of the wood stored away. And I'll get to it someday, months down the road, after it's dried out. It's going to take a long time. But I just had to dig into it. There's something about turning green wood. If you're a wood turner, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It takes hard wood and turns it into butter. It is such a pleasure to turn. So easy. And also, if you're a wood turner, you know that when you turn a green bowl, once you're done turning it, it's not over. And it's not going to be over probably for months. So there's a heads up to everybody. While I do show you the end product of this turn, the real end is going to be probably 6 months from now. So this turn is all about making some beautiful shavings and also making a beautiful bowl. You take a piece of crotch wood, you've got 3 different pieces of end grain that you're dealing with. So you've got some real nice patterns in the wood. Plus a little bit of figure because of the crotch itself. So my goal initially in this turn is to make it round, get it as balanced as possible. It's going to be out of balance just because of the wetness or the moisture content of the wood. But then I've got to put the mortise in the bottom so that I can flip it and turn out the inside. And you can see these beautiful shavings coming off of this 1/4-inch scraper. Just more of the pleasure of turning green wood. I can't overstate it. And there you can see the 4 jaws on that chuck, and I'll be using that chuck in expansion mode. So those 4 jaws will press outward onto the walls of the mortise to hold the bowl. And if you've seen a lot of my videos, you know that that's my preferred method for reverse mounting. And I don't always use the tailstock, but this time, because of the weight of the wood due to the moisture content, and the imbalance that causes, I want to make sure that I'm working safely. So that tailstock is up for support. Something else worth mentioning here is normally when you're turning like this, the shavings can get pretty hot. You feel that on your hand. But when you're turning green wood, it stays nice and cool because all those shavings are wet. Those beautiful long shavings coming off of end grain like that. Just more of the reason that I just love turning green wood. Love it. Hardly ever do it. It's a very rare thing. This is definitely an indulgence for me. I'm going to stop running my mouth for a little while just so everybody can enjoy the shavings coming off of this beautiful piece of apple wood. You know, sometimes, even though the destination is the ultimate goal, the journey is what's most important. And that's how I feel when I'm turning this wood. It's just absolute pleasure. There's no hurry. No urgency, no outside influences. It's just me, my bowl gouge, my lathe, and a beautiful piece of green apple wood. Given to me so generously by one of my subscribers. You know, call it call it mushy or sappy or whatever you want to call it. But I'm so passionate about what I do in my wood shop. I just want to share it with you. There's just so much more going on than the tool work. I've mentioned it before, the tranquility, the solace, the peace that I find in my wood shop. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Semper Fi. So I put wet shavings in the paper bag, put the bowl in, and then more wet shavings. I'll wrap it up and I'll store it for 6 months. So next June, we'll take a look at this bowl and see what has happened. It's either going to dry nicely, it's going to warp, it might crack. I hope not. We'll see. I sure made it pretty thin.